Good morning and good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation, here for another episode of Let's Build the Road to Inbound 2025, joined by fellow inbound correspondent Jillian Streit. How you doing?
Doing well. Can't complain. It's a sunny Friday. Gotta love it.
A sunny Friday. Where is it? A sunny Friday.
I am in the central Iowa area, and
Okay.
it's this nice 70 degrees Fahrenheit here. It's been 90 earlier, so it's gonna be a good weekend.
Uh, that does sound nice. Central Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Not something you hear every day in the
Nope,
world of SaaS. Um,
not at all.
so just a quick, so I think this is always fun context.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're talking about it's always been in Boston. Now it's moving to San Francisco.
Huh.
You're like middle of the country, right? Just give us a quick background of who you are and why you would even sign up to be an inbound correspondent.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am our director of research and training at Blue Frog, one of HubSpot's elite partners. So my whole role is learning and immersing myself in HubSpot and then sharing those experiences and proficiency skills with our clients and our internal team here. So that is why I wanted to be a correspondent because I'm already just spouting HubSpot everywhere already. So why not do that with HubSpot's backing at the inbound presence? But yeah, San Francisco is going to be exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I was excited to talk to you. I remember you doing an admin hug about training, and I think it's from the Service Hub perspective, even a little bit. And yeah, education and enablement and all these sessions, like that's a huge part of why people go to inbound. So before I pull up the screen and overwhelm everybody with the agenda, like some initial thoughts like that people should have, so they don't get overwhelmed immediately.
Yeah, it is overwhelming. I think there were 260 sessions that they announced, and it's hard not to be overwhelmed looking at that page. I would say first thing when you pull open that agenda screen is just read through, just skim it before you start planning or anything. Just take a look at what's there. That'll help.
And what are we? Let's pull it up.
Yeah.
And share my screen here. And for the first timers, they kind of lucked out. And they get a calendar view, which is new this year.
Yeah.
But let's look at, let's see here, our list view here. What are, as they do scroll through, what kind of things would the let's say lay inbounder be looking for to help them understand, what's available and what's going to be valuable for them?
Yeah. So luckily, HubSpot does have some filters at the top for you. So those of you in any kind of specialization, maybe you're in the marketing side, the sales side, or there's specific topics that you're interested in, help you streamline it for yourself and filter it down to some topics that you're interested in. But honestly, the process that I take personally when I'm looking through all of these sessions and trying to figure out what do I even want to attend is I'll just go through the full list and I will write down on a piece of paper ones that are intriguing to me, and I'll put the date and the time that it's at, and I just create a giant list of these are great. Then you're going to have ones that overlap and can't attend everything. So then I prioritize them into ones that are really applicable to my role or like my professional goals versus ones that are maybe the trendy things that I don't get to learn as often or expose myself to. And then finally, ones that are just nice to have, they're intriguing, but they're not part of my professional roadmap, if you will. That should help you kind of weed them out a little bit because there's so many good topics. And as you can see right in that middle pane at the top there, there's still sessions to be announced. So make sure you save yourself some time slots that you don't have to fill everything right away.
Yeah, that's like this week caught me a bit by, I guess what they're referring to as dropping this week is this ability to start favoriting things and, actually create an agenda. But it's like, we're going to have a ton of drops, right, as we go. And it's always going to be more. And, sessions, the encore sessions start to show up. And so that's why we're here.
I would say
it's not
another thing to do is to look for speakers.
look for speakers.
Yeah, look for speakers that you admire, because those tend to fill up. Like, there's a lot of Kyle Jepsen lovers out there. His sessions fill up just as fast as some of those big.
Yeah. So we do that here.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Maybe some feedback for the team that I search Kyle and his name doesn't show up here. So I know that he's doing this one. So
Yeah.
I'll click on that one. But yeah, all this basically, I mean, looks like just take a minute to understand this toolbar up here.
Yeah.
Right. And what you can, because I agree with the just start recording the thing that you want. And my approach to that, and this will be my third year, has just been start to use favorites.
Yes.
All right. Yep. I'll log into that. But basically, this favorite screen is what I do to I use that to start to pare down the entire list. Because at some point, what you need to know in advance is you're going to have to compare timing and decide that two are at the same time, and you're going to have to pick one, right?
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Save seats will be a thing, right? So seat reservations will open on August 5th for VIP pass holders and August 12th for general admission pass holders. I will say this will be interesting this year, right? Again, there's so many interesting things because it's not in Boston and people aren't going to know how everything works ahead of time, and it's easier to plan and make sure at places. But I'd say even in Boston, depending on the session, just because you don't get in the first time, you can show up and wait in line, right before the session starts. And obviously this is where it depends. If somebody like George, it's just gonna be a long line. Maybe somebody like Kyle. But it all is not lost, right? There's an opportunity or there has been, right? And that's where, depending on how this one works, it might be easier, because people don't know the venue and you're running around. A lot of these, when you try to schedule back to back, you just can't make it, right? So have you run into that where you're just maybe schedule a little too much as you get there?
Oh, 100%. I did that my first time at Inbound. I wanted to attend every session and just fill that calendar. And while I recommend trying to fill your calendar, don't do it with back-to-back sessions. You have no idea where they're going to be at right now. When you learn, and they should unlock a map at some point if they haven't already, some of those sessions are going to be complete opposite sides. And most first-timers I run into, they don't realize how big the event space is that HubSpot has. And granted, I don't know the San Francisco layout yet. None of us have seen it, but Boston was always huge. People were walking 10,000 steps a day. So again, prioritize, maybe have one or two sessions in the morning, afternoon that are your must attends. Then some others that, if you make it, great. If you don't, not the end of the world. Or split it up with your teammates if you're going with colleagues. Say I'm going to this one, you go to that one. We'll compare notes afterwards. That way you're maximizing your knowledge sharing.
Yeah. That team effort can be very powerful. How do you personally approach the main stage stuff?
Yeah. Those ones are always interesting. There's a lot of different stages that HubSpot will have that they don't require a reservation necessarily. So you can just favorite it if you want to be there. Again, San Francisco's new, so we don't know how close they're all going to be to each other. But there's a lot of, I don't want to say they're less technical, I would say. A lot of those deeper dive sessions that you have to save a seat for are really diving into a detailed topic. Those main stages are a lot more conceptualized, if you will. And I still love attending those, or the ones that have a panel discussion going on. Sometimes you learn the most from those, just hearing people talk about their experience. But I wouldn't shy away from those because they are just as valuable as kind of those deep dive sessions like what Kyle does.
Yeah. Like so much of this is just
Mhm.
being open to different different points of view.
Yeah.
Like I found from doing all the content, like so much of the value is just hearing somebody else talk about HubSpot. Sometimes can just switch on this like new point of view in yourself. Like, oh, I never thought about it that way. Now everything makes sense and I understand why it works like this in HubSpot.
Yeah.
But even more so, like, because a lot of the sessions, most of the sessions are not like product focused and like how does HubSpot work.
Mhm.
And that's where just open to strategy and how people approach, all of these, these topics, which also I'd say like when you look at like the reason you should take time to understand like how this toolbar works is it'll give you hints like these are the things like theme wise
Mhm.
that you should expect. So like for me, like GTM data and systems is going to be, you know, that's probably something I'm more likely to tend,
Mhm.
and move in that direction. But as you like approach this, when it comes to things you know and like versus things you maybe don't as much, like how do you balance? Like, do I really need another session on CRM customization, or should I go learn something new?
Yeah. And that is the balance everyone's going to have to determine for themselves where their priorities lie. There's a lot of content and there's 3 days of content. So prioritize each day having maybe one that is relevant to your business and your area of expertise. Like maybe you do live and breathe CRM customization, but are you missing anything? Maybe it is worth having a session there, but don't have all of your sessions fall into that category. If you are interested in, what is HubSpot doing with AI, or what is the new marketing trends going on and the world of SEO is changing kind of thing, have at least one session that is relating to your professional development skills in your current role or where you want to go, and ones that are new, trendy, you don't have time in your day to day to learn them on your own. So take that time.
That is good advice for sure. But one problem we're gonna have this year is the new trendy thing, which is interesting. It's not here, probably because it's everywhere,
Everywhere.
and that is AI.
Yeah, it is
Um,
everywhere.
like,
Yeah, is it not even a filter?
yeah, uh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, search bar. We'll look for it here. Let's put in AI.
I did notice that a lot of them had AI in the title, which
So many. Which, I mean, applause to these people who got like a submission like in about AI. But I don't know how you do an AI like talk, how you plan an AI talk like 4 months away,
yeah, it's all gonna
right?
be different. Yeah.
So that's like uh I'm interested in the lesson in just how to name stuff. Like this one's interesting, so I clicked on it. But really, like I think in this domain, like I'm gonna have to go with gut feel, like
Mhm.
as I click into these, right? Because even though I'm pretty active in AI, like and do a lot of content there, again, just understanding how other people are thinking about it
Mhm.
and just being a part of these sessions, like it's not always like the one-way conversation that you're interested in, especially when you get into like the workshop and looks like they're calling like labs now.
Yeah.
And you can learn so much from just the people around you. similar to like the boot camps
Mhm.
that HubSpot does. Like that's where even if you know the topic, if there's going to be like 100 other people in the room, like learning the topic as well, there's definitely going to be nuggets of like takeaways, right? And those are the kinds of things, especially when you're balancing like main stage stuff that's recorded, right, versus like the in-person moments that often deliver a lot of experiences that you can't get like any other way. I'd say like it's like think about the topics and like look at how it's structured, right? Because we got 30-minute sessions, we got like 55 minutes and then an hour and a half. They all deliver their own kind of uh, format of value, and
Yeah.
definitely take that into account. Do you have a preferred format that over the years you kind of go one way or the other?
Yeah. There's an approach I've fallen into in the last couple of years and learned this after the first year at Inbound when I just threw myself into every session I possibly could. But to your point, Chris, where you're like, you're going to have to go on a gut feeling. Is this one actually going to give me the information I'm wanting? Or do I want to attend this one? Things are not. Those main stage ones that are a little bit shorter, those are usually more out in the open. And again, I say usually because we don't know the San Francisco layout yet. But that means you can kind of be doing something else. Like maybe you're exploring, you're eating, you're networking with people near you, and you're just at the same stage area. So you can be absorbing the information without feeling like it's a big commitment to listen in, or you can jump from one to another. The ones that are those like hour and a half deep dive sessions, those are in their own room. So if you decide to leave that one, you're going to be noticed. So
Yeah.
that can be a great way to differentiate it too, is maybe you're just not willing to commit that hour and a half to a topic yet. See if it's offered on one of the main stage options.
Yeah. Um, and with that, the balance and maybe sacrifice there is those are not, they really can't be. And again, we'll see if it's any different, but it's designed to be like a one-way presentation where, people who have tackled some kind of use case usually are just presenting their story, and, you're out in the open and there's an audience there. So there's not a lot of opportunity to like Q&A and things like that, but it is a great way to allow for some, serendipitous experiences where
Mhm.
create some space to be able to walk around. And then as you notice like a talk, like you can jump in, especially
Mhm.
when you're not aware of like the who's who of every talk, right? Like you can
Yep.
see that and like, oh, I like this person. Let me go. Maybe I've never seen them before in person, or I haven't listened to them before. The meeting in person part, right? Do you ever make decisions like based on that?
Sometimes, because you mentioned some of those main stage ones are recorded. That's a great way to make a decision as well on what you might want to attend, because you could go find that recording later on. So if there's a topic that you are going back and forth between, pick the one that's not recorded because you're not going to get that content anywhere else. But the in-person networking that I have really started to love, I think HubSpot started this last year, maybe the year before. I think they're calling them labs now, or product demos, where you can just listen in to HubSpot product experts, like the people who manage the marketing hub, the sales hub, things like that, talk and demo the product to someone else who's asking questions about their business use case. Maybe you don't know if you even have a question to ask or have a use case for Service Hub. Just listen in, stand next to them, see what they're talking about. Who knows what you might learn? But the networking, being able to talk to the speakers afterwards, that's a huge thing. And it's a little bit easier to do that when you do go to those main, longer deep dive sessions as opposed to the big panels or the main stages. Because you can just go up and talk to them afterwards. And most of them love that.
Yeah, I was definitely gonna say like keep in mind that's how like you can kind of create value in the other direction.
Mhm.
Like, and for me, that's the most common reason I go to something I already know about, right?
Yeah.
If I know the speaker and I just want to be there to support, and, say, hey, before or after. I think there's always more opportunity than people expect to, like, shake hands and talk to, like, people that you probably you've been admiring from afar for a while. And definitely don't hesitate. I talked a lot about this with Rob Jones in our episode. Like, people are at Inbound to meet other people
Yeah.
and network and see each other and talk. So, like, if you're concerned, especially like somebody like Kyle Jepsen, who has celebrity status to some extent, I've seen him go through some of the longest lines of people just waiting to talk to him. He wants to meet each and every person that he can. So definitely don't hesitate to maybe think about your schedule from that perspective, right? And of course, if you get into one of his talks, you're going to learn a ton, anyways. So lots of value there. Are there any specific sessions that you've already found that you're like, oh, I can't miss this one, and I don't think anybody else should miss it either?
Oh gosh. Oh, what was I just looking at? Like I said, there's so many, they start to blend
Yeah,
in my mind. I do fall back on a lot of Kyle's because whether you have listened to all of his talks before, maybe you're a regular at his hug events, there's always something new that you learn regardless. So I always try and find at least one of his to go to. And again, those ones fill up fast. So save your seat, mark August 5th or 13th on your calendar to go and reserve your seat for those. Um, but some of those meetups I've also been really trying to prioritize because it's that networking piece of it as well. You get to actually talk with people who might be going through a similar challenge or growth trajectory as you, and you're going to have a completely different experience than listening to a speaker or a panel talk when you're having kind of these group facilitated discussions with like-minded individuals. And I don't think a
yeah,
lot of people have been prioritizing those meetups.
yeah. And that's a lot of the hugs will have a meetup. A lot of the sometimes formal, sometimes informal, like community, like groups of people just decide to get together.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've heard yet, but Nico and I are leading an AI meetup of some sort. We actually submitted, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've heard back from that. And a number of like inbound correspondents have tried to. It's definitely a way to create some structure around an event in a way that doesn't overstructure. Like, you show up there and you get to who's available to talk to. Like, it's very
Mhm.
happy hour like, right?
Yeah.
So again, a way to create some flexibility in your schedule and just make sure that you get to see the people that
Mhm.
you want to see. I've also had a lot of success with brain dates, which I think they're doing again this year. Um, where those are just like one-on-ones, or small 4 or 5 person groups
Yeah.
that I think pretty much anybody can just sign up and create one, to be able to talk about the things that are important to you. And that's where obviously there's some of skill is the right word, but try to pick a topic that other people might
Mhm.
want to talk about. But again, like, I wouldn't hesitate to trying to. It's one of the interesting things you can control about the experience that most other events I've been to haven't really had that element. Because I think for me, it's always the hardest, the balance between trying to control your schedule and creating space for just to meet the people that you need to meet, let the conversations happen the way they need to happen, is always like, there's a constant FOMO like energy, but there's also this constant excitement about doing the thing that just appeared out of nowhere and was
Mhm.
super valuable. Um, it's
'Cause that's important. There's so much not random, but exciting things that are going on the floor that you don't get to reserve a spot for. It's just cool things that are running around in random corners. So the sessions themselves are incredible, but save time for yourself. Like those blocks of time between sessions you care about, there is so much more you can explore and network and chat with people. I'm excited to see what the lunch situation looks like because that was always fun to just find a random table with people and strike up a conversation. There's so much.
Yeah, that's one of the things, like the lawn on D, right? Was it like a
The lawn.
mainstay, and you could always like plan to meet somebody there. Like we don't know what that place
Mhm.
is like this year. I'm sure there's going to be something like it. Uh, but we'll like the food trucks are there, and like it's just so everybody's on the same playing field this year. Like it doesn't matter how many times you've been to inbound, and man, how
Mhm.
synonymous this is with the world that we live in right now. Like how AI is just kind of creating this even playing field. So,
Mhm.
but that's why we're here, right? We're talking about this. Like we're in the same position as everybody else, where it doesn't matter how many we've been to. We don't know. There's more uncertainty than there has been in other years. But what we do know is it's an event like no other I've been to. And when I went to it in 2023, it was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. Like these are my
Mhm.
people. Like I've never felt belonging like that. Like just especially in a professional context, right?
Yeah.
When we are all like can tend to be like accidental admins and marketers trying to fight the good fight inside of organizations. It was such a breath of fresh air to just
Yeah.
be in a space where you can kind of be yourself, and there is going to be somebody else operating very similarly at some point.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
as we wrap up, I'm curious. Last year we had about, I think, 15,000, was it, in Boston?
Yeah.
Any guesstimates for how many we should expect in San Francisco?
Ooh, I would. I'm betting they're aiming for a higher number. I think that was part of why they moved it was they wanted to get other people there from travel perspectives. And I know a lot of people who are first timers now. So I'm expecting it to be maybe closer to 18,000, but I haven't looked to see how much the Monroe Center can actually hold.
Right.
We'll see.
That's interesting. Yeah, this shift is going to be super interesting, because basically switching audiences
Hmm.
kind of to from like diehard HubSpotters to like Silicon Valley area,
Yeah.
and so from a like diehard technologists basically,
Hmm.
um, and it's gonna be interesting to see the kind of impact on just the whole venue, the whole vibe. Uh, uh, but excited either way. Um, as we wrap, like any questions that I should have asked you as somebody that's helping others prep for inbound?
There was one line you had in the agenda about getting your ROI on inbound that I think doesn't get discussed enough is how do you get that value outside of just it's an incredible experience. A lot of people, you need to save inbound, don't back into your daily routine. Set some time for yourselves to share those insights with people who didn't go to get to plan how you can take those aha moments that you learned in all these cool sessions and apply them into your business. If you don't do that step, it will not be worthwhile in the long run. Still worthwhile. You're just going to miss out on a lot of opportunity to capture what you learned.
Yeah, that resonates so much. That's probably the number one reason you should not load up your schedule with in-depth sessions left and right.
Mhm.
Because I remember we did that in 2023, where I didn't make time for anything outside of sessions. We downloaded all the materials, and
Mhm.
that's still sitting in the Google Drive, like probably not touched. Like it's just easy to like take it all in and then get to the next week and jump back into like real life and not transfer that knowledge. So definitely creating that space is so important. And you can understand a lot of what is happening with the event, through the correspondence group, through other people who are experiencing it.
Mhm.
So don't fret. give yourself permission to not take it all in, because you can't. Nobody can. And just find the path that works for you, and give yourself permission also to do your best to control the schedule, but also be prepared for it to, go where it needs to go,
Yeah.
for you to get the value out of this event. Um, and and you'll be satisfied. So thanks so much, Jillian. This has been an awesome conversation.
Absolutely. Glad I could join.
Me too. And until next week, we'll continue the road to inbound. Uh, if you're going to inbound, find Jillian. I'm sure she'd love to say hello.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time. Have a great weekend, everybody.